For many years, people have feared different mythical creatures. Some came from ancient legends, others from medieval folklore, and some appeared only recently. Yet they all share one thing: the fear of the unknown today. We will travel through different eras to see some of the most terrifying mythical creatures in history. Of this creature appeared around 3000 BCE, and yet more than 5,000 years later, it remains one of the most recognizable mythical creatures in history: the dragon. Its image emerged independently in different cultures, including East Asia and the ancient Near East. In almost every case, it was associated with natural forces, authority, and primal fear. But the dragon was never the same. Everywhere across cultures and eras, it looked different and symbolized different things. We begin with one of the earliest archaeological discoveries. Travel to northern China and the Hongshan culture, dating from approximately 4700 to 2900 BCE. Archaeologists uncovered jade carvings known as the pig dragon, a curved, serpent-like figure with a pronounced head and tightly coiled body. Jade was considered sacred, so crafting such figures indicates the elevated status of this image. Even at this early stage, the dragon was associated with the sky, rain, and the natural life cycle. However, in the ancient Near East, dragon-like beings carried a very different meaning. Moved to Mesopotamia between roughly 17 and 11 BCE, in the Babylonian epic Enuma, Elish Tiamat is described as a primordial sea monster of chaos. Connected to the saltwater ocean, she is often portrayed as a colossal dragon-like entity. Here the image shifts. The dragon becomes a cosmic threat that must be defeated by the god Marduk in order to establish an ordered world. According to the epic, Tiamat creates an army of monstrous beings and wages war against the younger gods. Marduk ultimately defeats her, splitting her body in two. From one half, he forms the heavens, and from the other, he creates the earth. This is one of the earliest known creation myths in human history, and a dragon-like being stands at its center. The colossal primordial serpent symbolizes the chaotic forces that existed before cosmic order. From a scientific perspective, such myths may reflect fear of catastrophic flooding in the Tigris and Euphrates river valleys, where seasonal floods directly affected survival. Encounters with large snakes and crocodiles, as well as the discovery of ancient bones, could have reinforced the idea of gigantic creatures. People explained the overwhelming power of nature through the image of a monster that embodied chaos. In this way, the dragon is not merely a fantasy creature, but one of the oldest symbols of the struggle between order and chaos, and that ancient depth is precisely what makes it one of the most powerful and frightening archetypes in human history. Imagine a narrow stone passage descending deep underground. The rough limestone walls are damp, and water drips slowly from the ceiling. The air grows colder, and your footsteps echo through the silence ahead. The tunnel opens into a vast cavern. Beyond it lies a motionless, dark river veiled in thin mist. Right here, at the very boundary between the living and the dead, stands Cerberus, the three-headed dog guarding the entrance to the realm of Hades. The earliest written references to this creature date back to around the 8th century BCE. In Hesiod's Theogony, he is described as a multi-headed dog, born to two of the most terrifying monsters of ancient Greece, Typhoeus and Echidna, beings who embodied destruction. This lineage makes Cerberus the brother of many well-known monsters, including the Chimera, the Sphinx, and the Dragon Ladon. Over time, the most recognizable image became fixed: a three-headed dog with a serpent's tail and a mane of venomous snakes. The three heads became the canonical number in classical art. He allowed no one to leave and almost no one to escape alive, fiercely guarding the souls of the dead by order of Hades. In Greek thought, cosmic order depended on a strict boundary between the living and the dead, and Cerberus embodied that boundary. However, even this relentless guardian could be appeased with a honey cake. It was placed in the tomb with the deceased to allow the soul to pass safely into the underworld, while the dog was distracted by food. The most famous story involving him is the 12th labor of Heracles. The hero was tasked with bringing Cerberus to the surface and returning him without using weapons. According to the myth, Heracles subdued the beast through sheer strength and temporarily led him into the world of the living. Yet even a demigod required Hades' permission to handle the guardian of death, emphasizing the creature's status as a sacred guardian of the underworld's order. Cerberus became widely known to modern audiences, largely due to the first installment of Harry Potter. Joanne Rowling created a character who guards the entrance to the chamber, where the Philosopher's Stone is hidden. In addition, a constellation, an asteroid, a genus of poisonous plants, and even an authentication protocol were named after the guardian. In the end, Cerberus is not merely a monstrous dog. He is an ancient symbol of a boundary that cannot be crossed without consequence. Late at night, a long, piercing cry echoes across an Irish valley. It does not sound fully human, yet it is not the call of any animal, according to ancient tradition. If you hear this wail, someone in your household will soon die. This is the Banshee, one of the most haunting figures in Celtic folklore. The earliest written references to the Banshee appear in medieval Ireland around the 14th century. The name comes from the Irish Beansea, meaning woman of the mound, or woman of the other world. In Celtic belief, these burial mounds were thought to be entrances to the realm of spirits. The Banshee was not a killer. She did not cause death directly. Her role was different. She served as a harbinger, warning of the approaching death of a member of a specific family. Legends often connect her to old Irish clans, such as the O'Neills or the O'Briens. It was believed that noble families had their own Banshee. Descriptions of her appearance vary. Some sources portray a young woman with long silver hair. Others describe an aged, gaunt figure wrapped in a gray cloak. Yet one detail never changes: her scream in folklore. It is often compared to keening, a ritual lament that historically existed in Ireland. Until the 19th century, women performed it at funerals, producing long, piercing cries of grief. Some historians suggest that the legend of the Banshee may have emerged from this very tradition in rural landscapes covered in mist, where sound travels far at night. Such cries could easily take on a supernatural meaning. Yet for many in Ireland, the Banshee was more than a story. Reports of her wail appear in chronicles and oral accounts well into the 18th and 19th centuries. Even today, she remains a symbol of fate and inevitability in Irish culture. On November 15, 1966, two young couples from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, reported seeing a strange creature near an abandoned explosives plant. According to their account, a tall, dark figure stood before them with massive wings and glowing red eyes. That night marked the beginning of the Mothman legend. Witnesses describe the figure as standing around 6 to 7 feet tall, with a wingspan exceeding 10 feet. The creature was said to rise almost vertically into the air, and even chase a car at speeds of more than 100 miles per hour. Local newspapers published the first reports on November 16, 1966, and over the following weeks, more than 100 sightings were documented. Most encounters occurred in what was known as the TNT area, the site of a former World War II munitions facility. Abandoned concrete bunkers, misty air, and dense woodland created an atmosphere that intensified fear and speculation. On December 15, 1967, tragedy struck when the Silver Bridge collapsed over the Ohio River, killing 46 people after the disaster. Many began linking Mothman sightings to a warning of impending catastrophe. However, the official investigation concluded that the collapse was caused by metal fatigue in one of the bridge's suspension chains. Skeptics suggested that witnesses might have seen a large bird, such as a sandhill crane, which can have a wingspan of more than 6 feet. The red eyes could have been reflections of car headlights. Still, reports of vertical takeoff and high-speed pursuit remain difficult to explain. Public interest intensified after the release of John Keel's 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, followed by the 2002 film adaptation. Today, a statue of Mothman stands in Point Pleasant, and an annual festival attracts thousands of visitors. It is no surprise that Mothman attracted attention from people around the world for many years, perhaps. It was precisely the combination of real events and fear of the unknown that made him one of the most unsettling creatures of the 20th century. With the rise of the internet came a wave of new mythical creatures. People shared stories about beings of every imaginable shape and size, each with its own unbelievable backstory. But one figure became one of the most popular creatures of the 21st century. Siren Head in 2018. Canadian artist Trevor Henderson posted an image on social media showing a distant, towering figure. The caption was written like a brief archival note, as if documenting a real sighting. Siren Head is portrayed as an extremely tall humanoid figure, often depicted as over 30 feet tall, and in fan-made stories reaching nearly 40 feet. Instead of a head, it has two sirens resembling old outdoor loudspeakers. This detail became its defining visual feature. Interestingly, the creator did not establish an official mythology. Internet users began inventing the lore themselves. Stories appeared about encounters in forests, strange sounds in remote areas, and security camera recordings. The fewer confirmed details existed, the faster the legend expanded. By 2020, the character had gained significant popularity. Fan-made horror games, short films, and animations spread widely. Online videos featuring the creature gathered millions of views. In some regions, rumors of real sightings circulated, later revealed to be staged footage or digital edits. It does not frighten audiences with ancient curses, but with familiar technological signals. emergency sirens, mechanical wails, and sounds associated with disaster. And that is precisely why the character resonated so strongly with the 21st century audience.